It was a busy Wednesday morning in the heart of Manhattan. The office tower of one of the nation's most powerful corporations buzzed with executives rushing to meetings, phones ringing off the hook, and the faint smell of expensive coffee in the air. But in the corner of the lobby, quietly pushing his janitor cart, was Tom, a man who had been cleaning these floors for over a decade. Most people barely noticed him, except for the CEO, a billionaire named Richard Gaines, known for his sharp mind, wealth, and, unfortunately, his impatience with anyone he deemed below him. That morning, Richard had called a sudden meeting with the top executives to discuss a new merger, and he stormed into the lobby, spotting Tom mopping near the elevators. "Tom," he barked, his voice echoing off the marble walls. "Don't you know anything about finance? This isn't your place. Leave now." There was a tinge of ridicule in his tone, and a few nearby interns awkwardly glanced away, unsure of how to react. But Tom didn't flinch. "Before we dive deeper into this story, if you love stories that touch the heart and remind us of the beauty in human kindness, make sure to subscribe to our channel, Kindness World. Hit the like button, comment below with your thoughts, and let's spread positivity together." Tom looked up at Richard with calm, steady eyes. "Sir," he said softly, "I may not know finance like you, but I do know people. And I know that every person deserves respect." There was silence. The lobby felt suddenly smaller, the hum of the city outside fading into the background. Everyone in the room sensed that this was more than a simple exchange, it was a moment that could change something deep inside all of them. Richard's eyebrow shot up. No janitor had ever spoken to him this way. "Respect," he repeated, a hint of disbelief in his tone. "I pay you to clean. You don't need to talk about respect." Tom smiled gently. "I know, sir. I do my job every day, and I try to do it well. But kindness doesn't cost anything, and respect doesn't come from your title or salary. It comes from how you treat others, no matter who they are." His words were simple, but they carried a weight that made the room go quiet. The interns, the secretaries, even the vice president of operations paused, realizing they were witnessing something rare. Richard leaned back, crossing his arms, unsure whether to laugh or scold. "You really think talking like that will get you anywhere?" Tom nodded. "Not for me, sir. But it might remind someone else to be better. That's enough for me." For a moment, the CEO stared at him, and something shifted. Perhaps it was the courage in Tom's voice, or the unexpected wisdom in his words, but Richard's posture softened. He realized that in his pursuit of wealth and power, he had forgotten the very human connections that made his company thrive. He remembered the long nights when employees had stayed late to finish projects, the janitors who quietly ensured their workplace was clean, the cafeteria staff who greeted everyone with a smile. Suddenly, Tom wasn't just a janitor, he was a mirror, reflecting back the humanity that Richard had neglected. Days passed, but the memory of that conversation lingered in Richard's mind. He started noticing the small acts of kindness around the office. He saw the receptionist who always remembered birthdays, the intern who stayed late to help a colleague, the security guard who checked in on employees during a snowstorm. And every time he saw Tom quietly mopping the floors, he felt a pang of guilt and admiration at the same time. One Friday afternoon, Richard called Tom into his office. Tom hesitated, wondering if he had done something wrong, but walked in with his usual calm demeanor. Richard closed the door and gestured for him to sit. "Tom," he began, "I want to apologize for how I treated you last week. I spoke without thinking, and I realized I've lost sight of what really matters." Tom shook his head. "No apology needed, sir. I just believe everyone deserves a little kindness." Richard smiled, and for the first time in years, it wasn't a smile born of strategy or success. It was genuine. "You've given me a lesson I never expected from someone in your position. I want to do something to honor that." The next month, Richard initiated a company-wide program called Acts of Kindness, rewarding employees who went out of their way to help others, no matter how small the gesture. He made sure Tom was recognized publicly, giving him a special award for Heart of the Company. During the ceremony, Richard looked at Tom and said, "You reminded me that greatness isn't about the money we make or the titles we hold. It's about the kindness we show and the lives we touch." The room erupted in applause, but Tom simply smiled and waved modestly. He didn't need recognition. For him, the act of standing up with dignity, of speaking a truth from the heart, was reward enough. But the impact of that single, courageous moment rippled throughout the company. People started holding doors for each other, leaving notes of appreciation, and checking in on coworkers in ways they hadn't before. The culture shifted, all because one man chose kindness over silence. Weeks later, Richard found himself walking past Tom in the lobby. Without a word, he handed him a cup of coffee. Tom looked surprised but smiled warmly, saying, "Thank you, sir." Richard nodded, feeling a connection that went beyond positions, beyond titles. It was human. It was real. And in that moment, he knew that success without kindness was hollow. Tom continued his work, quietly, humbly, but the company had changed. Leaders were kinder, employees were happier, and the culture was richer in ways that money could never measure. And it all started with one simple act: treating someone with respect and choosing to speak from the heart. This story reminds us that kindness is never wasted. It can change a person, a company, even a community. Sometimes, the most powerful lessons come from the most unexpected places. A janitor, a quiet man with a mop and a heart full of dignity, showed a billionaire CEO what it truly means to lead with compassion. And in doing so, he reminded everyone that every act of kindness matters, no matter how small it seems. So today, let this story inspire you. Whether at work, at home, or in your neighborhood, choose kindness. Speak gently, help others, respect everyone. You never know how much your small act of kindness might change someone's life, or even the world around you.